Hello, everybody. Hello. Where am I? There I am. Hey, I finally popped in. It's me, Andy, Decade Andy. We're here for the Moonbase 2 podcast pre-show. We got Big D with us today. Hey, Big D.
Hello.
No Orange today. Orange was going to join us, but unfortunately, Orange had other business to attend to. So it's just me and Big D. Yeah, because it was going to be the three of us today. Because that was the original plan last week, but then a lot of stuff came up, so one of those things. And I checked and there was no decent news this week, so it's like, well, we may as well get onto the Beast Wars stuff now, because there was nothing.
It was fairly quiet this week,
pretty much.
I think the saying goes, they shot their load the week prior.
Well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's the way the cookie crumbles, isn't it? Most of the time, it's like you get a week of news and it's really intense, and then next week probably is not going to have anything. That's just how the news cycle works, baby. You gotta roll with it,
Yeah, that's fair.
Gotta roll with these things. How you been doing though, Big D? Has it been okay for you today, this week?
Yeah, it's been all right. I've had a rather fun week, just doing a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, you've done a lot at the moment.
Yeah.
Quite a few. Yeah.
Yeah, it's novel. Enjoyed it though.
Novel, you say? What makes it novel?
Well, I don't normally do it. Not very often, anyway.
You think it's going to become a more regular thing?
Maybe. How did you guys go with the Fluff and Hammer Friday? I meant to listen in, but my connection was a bit janky, as it always seems to be on Twitch.
Is it out? Has Gruff edited the show and put it out yet?
I haven't seen it come out yet, no. So I imagine it'll probably be next couple of days.
I would imagine so. I don't know how long it takes Gruff to edit shows and whatnot. It was another show. There's a lot to get through. It was a fairly long-ish one, I think.
I was going to say, you guys had a fair whack to work through.
Yeah, and we didn't get through a huge amount of it either. We had a lot we didn't get.
Hammer. There were some tangents, possibly.
Well, I mean, that's the usual stuff, you know how it goes.
Absolutely.
It's usually a usual Fluff and Hammer episode. But we have Beast Wars to talk about today, so we're going to roll the music. We'll start the proper podcast off, and we'll start talking about Beast Wars. Okay, so where's the music button? There's the music button. Okay, roll the music.
Welcome to Moonbase 2.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Moonbase 2 podcast. My name is Andy, Decade Andy, and we are here to talk about the Age of Beasts, or I guess the Rise of the Beasts, but not the movie. No, we're going to be talking about the Beast Wars toys the first year, because I couldn't find any dedicated catalogs or a lot of good quality background images that had the entire lineup, so I went on to tfu.info and went, we'll just go through 1996. The year when things was still okay before the dark times rolled in. And we got Big D with us here today. Hey, Big D.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
It's warm. Don't like it.
Isn't it just?
Yeah. Is this heat wave that the news has been tantalizing us with? Is it this week? Because for the past month, the heat wave's coming. Oh, it's going to fuck you up, boys. Ooh. It's like, calm down.
I think it might be this week.
Okay.
Which fills me with dread, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not like it was worse last year, because it's just like it's high at the moment, but it's not devastatingly high. Oh yeah. I've just got the weather up next week. Yeah, it's not even that bad. It's just like a lot of 18s and 20s.
Oh, that's not too bad.
So
I saw somewhere say that we're expecting 27 degrees in London at some point.
No, I don't give a shit about London. I'm not looking at London weather. They're in the city as well, so they do it to themselves.
Well, I care because I'm on the same rough longitude as London, so it kind of.
Well, because you're not in the city, you won't. Well, unless you live in a city-like area, you're not going to have that city heat buildup that you get.
No, I live in the countryside, which is why I have internet problems.
Yeah, but you should be able to living in the countryside means you don't have like buildings surrounding you and then cars all kind of pumping up the heat in that area. Which is why New York City is fucking diabolical during summer as well. 'Cause you wouldn't think it would be. But New York on summer with all those big tall buildings magnifying the sunlight everywhere. Oh man.
And built on an island in the middle of one of the biggest rivers on the planet.
Yeah. It happens, man. Comes to get you.
I think the word's swampy.
Yeah, a little bit. Yet not as like hellish as like Vegas. Vegas was very warm, let's say, when I went many years ago.
Yeah, but Vegas is the city that should not exist. It only exists because of human sheer bloody mindedness.
No, it exists because of gangsters. Gangsters, drugs, and money.
I mean, gangsters and bloody mindedness kind of goes hand in hand.
Actually, was it drugs or was it alcohol? Did it kick off during the
well,
the
it kicked off when they were building the dam, Hoover Dam.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah.
So it was started out as the town that the building crews were based out of, and it kind of expanded to provide them everything they needed in every sense of that word.
Yeah.
And when the building finished, well, some people thought, well, this has been working quite nicely. Can we make it carry on?
And they did.
Funny old thing. They did.
And it was glorious. Interesting place is Vegas. An interesting place.
So I hear. It's one of my bucket list cities I'd like to visit at least once, just to say that I've been, and then cross it off the list.
It to me definitely felt like a place that you only spend a couple of days. You don't need a week there or anything like that, I'd say. I don't think so, at least.
Yeah.
Wasn't enough for me to do. I'm not that much of a degen, believe it or not. Wow.
Same.
Okay.
I couldn't really. I'm the sort of person I tend to be a bit rubbish sometimes visiting places, but I don't really drink or do anything like that. So a lot of these places would be kind of lost on me because that's part of what they expect you to do when you're there.
The one thing I wish I'd done in Vegas was I wish I'd been able to go to a gun range, but there just wasn't the time.
That's fair, yeah.
I wanted to go shoot some goons, be fucking American as hell. Looked really fun. Looks really fun. Looks very, very enjoyable.
True. Yeah, I mean, I've fired an SA-80 rifle a few times when I was a kid. Benefits of being a forces brat.
Makes sense, yeah.
It is a feeling that it is something that is not a bad thing for people to experience.
Yeah.
Because then you can quite happily turn around and say, I've done it. If it's not to your liking, or you can turn around and say, I've done it. I don't need to do it ever again.
It'd probably be me like with archery, where it's like I wish I could do it more because I enjoyed archery. But
actually, I'm the same with that. Every time I've done archery, I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I bet shooting a gun might elicit the same primal instinct in me. Pull trigger, thing go boom, everything goes explodey. Well, the paper goes explodey. I don't think generally they let you explode things at a gun range. Not legally.
No, I think high-X rounds are tightly controlled. Even in the good old US of A.
That's true. But we're here to talk about Beast Wars. Big D, did you have a lot of the Beast Wars figures? I'm hoping you did.
I have a lot of the Beast Wars figures.
You do now, or you did?
Yeah, because I didn't get a lot of these, and I didn't start collecting Beast Wars until really the Transmetal waves, so season 2 onwards.
Yeah.
Mainly because when I was at university, a lot of the shops around my university had them for dirt cheap. To the extent that I bought TM2 Black Arachnia for $5.
That ain't bad. That's pretty decent.
And I have a second one in the loft I've kept boxed and never opened, just because it was $5.
You can probably sell that for a decent. Well, I don't know how much you could sell it for, but more than £5. You could definitely sell it for more than £5. That's for sure.
Yeah, but over time I kind of went back and filling gaps. So I now have all the series Maximals apart from Tigatron.
Oh, okay.
At least in the original toys. I've gotten all the more recent Kingdom and Legacy updates because why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
But from the series, I've got pretty much all of those guys. I've got the original TM2 Megatron. I've got a Quick Strike knocking around. I did pick up a few other Season 1 and Season 2 deluxes and basics in a big job lot over I got a few years back from was it a boot sale? No, that was an eBay lot, which I then turned around and resold a good chunk of for not bad money, to be fair. Still got a few left over, but they were in decent nick. So, but no, they were kind of like. I started in on Beast Wars after I'd sold all my G1 collection.
Ah, okay.
Because I did that in 2000, well, 99, I can't remember the exact date. Went off to university, and when I was out there, that was when they started releasing Beast Wars on VHS in collections, which they hadn't done prior. So we were able to finally watch what happened, basically season 3, because that never, to my knowledge, on terrestrial TV in the UK. Not initially. So we had a big cliffhanger where Megatron murks Optimus Prime, and that was the last thing we saw. I knew it had continued, but I hadn't seen it. So
yeah, I can't remember how. Like, I only saw like bits in the UK, where it was just on a garbled Channel 5 channel. You know, when you could get Channel 5 on your normal TV without like a special connection, but it was just fuzz and grey and snowy.
Yeah, Channel 5 was very weird at that point.
It was,
Yeah,
my first introduction to Beast Wars was my first trip to America, to Disney World, and it was just on TV, and I was like, what the hey? Transformers is still going?
Yeah.
And it was CG, so it was really, really interesting to me, because you hadn't seen, at that time, you hadn't seen anything like it. CG shows were very unique.
Reboot had come before it, and it was still Moonframe doing the same thing. Well, they did both shows. And the thing is, I remember I saw an article about Beast Wars, and because it had specifically mentioned that it was Mainframe doing the animation, and I had kind of adored Reboot. That was what made me think, yeah, I'm going to give this a go. Whenever it was on, because it only aired on, it was one of those ones that they showed on CITV during holidays. Yeah. So it was another
Oddly
show
enough, it wasn't on Sky, which is why I hadn't seen Reboot either.
Yeah.
I don't know why it wasn't on Sky. It's weird.
Yeah. But it was another one of those shows that it meant that it was very difficult to watch all of. Although somehow I did manage to watch all of season 1 and 2. There's very few episodes when I finally picked up the VHSs, but I was like, I don't remember any of this. I could remember pretty much everything once I watched them. And it's like, oh yeah, it's excellent. It was just another one of those weird ways they did things in the UK.
Aye, the way that the show shows.
Thankfully, they don't do that anymore.
No, that's true.
Godsend.
But we should probably get on to talking about the toys. What we're going to do is we're going to go through each of the stages. So we're going to go from the small basics to deluxes to, the equivalent to Voyagers to Leaders. I think Leaders were Megas back then, but we'll find the way through. We're starting off with, as you can see on screen, Insection, who I've not had, and I think is one of the more unique ones. Does this guy transform like the rest with a spring-loaded gimmick? Do you know, Big D?
I think so. I think all the basics had that functionality. It was kind of.
I had a feeling that was the thing, but because I didn't have Insection, I didn't know for sure.
In fairness, so those spring-loaded gimmicks were surprisingly good. I mean, the Rat Trap mold that they used for Razor Beast and Tasmanian Kid. They all use for kind of like the same principle.
Yeah.
The way that they did that, literally, you flip a tail and they just transform pretty much in one go. And you got a pretty good figure with ball joints out of it at the end. I mean, you can see from Insector here. That's a lot of ball joints for a figure from 1996.
What was the spring-loaded thing for him? Because you mentioned, obviously, the tail, which I know about, and Pterosaur's head. So what was his? I'm
trying to remember, actually. I may be wrong, but he didn't have a spring-loaded feature. He may have had his weapon gimmicks instead. But I'd swear that all of those basics, that was.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because it doesn't look like he has it.
Because I mean, if you look at his beast mode, you can see his legs folded up underneath. I think his hips, basically his lower torso, folds up over his chest.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at beast mode properly.
So this is one you don't have at the moment, is that right?
Yeah, it was one of the ones I didn't get in the end.
Okay.
If I remember rightly, so his because you can see the articulation point for his chest as well, or his hips rather. So that would fold up over his chest and kind of lock into place. And I think there might have been a spring on the shell, a release on the shell that you'd press to unlock it and transform it back into robot mode.
Mm-mm.
But there's no waist swivel, but you've got ball joint, elbows, shoulders, hips, and knees, and ankles for that matter.
For me as a kid, this was the introduction of ball joints, which I then used to pull the toys apart for battle damage and whatnot, as you do as a kid for your play features. The interesting thing about this is we have gimmicks like this. It's worth mentioning this for the entire basic line. We have gimmicks like the spring-loaded action things. The problem with the current day ones compared to the ones here are they have to adhere to usually much more complex designs than they did before, where they could just make a new character so the new character can look however it needs to look. While most of the time now, the spring-loaded gimmicks are for characters who are like an Optimus Prime or a Bumblebee, and they'll also have a subsequent toy that transforms correctly. Movie toys are good examples of this, because you have ones where you push a button and you flip them around and they're just gappy and they're just like holes everywhere on them. While here you have a complete robot, you have the ball joints, everything's pretty much covered for the most part, and they look like a complete toy.
The designers were really on fire with the Beast Wars range, but this was on the back of E2, which had kind of was tanked the brand, not completely, because it had done reasonably well in Europe and outside the States, but it hadn't really lit the world on fire. It's just like their big, let's reboot the brand completely effort. And they really did go for it, didn't they? I mean, you look at this guy today, I'd be quite happy to still have him in my collection and put him with modern day figures.
Well, yeah, as long as the quality control was there, because I remember the Beast War reissue figures that they did, and a lot of them were not as good as even the ones you could pick up from eBay, which is kind of depressing.
Yeah, that was a bit of a shame, unfortunately.
Yeah, I have an original Rat Trap, which I'd forgotten I'd bought, and then I bought the Rat Trap reissue on sale, because it was in Smith's, and there's a massive difference in quality between the two of them, and it's just depressing. Like, one's really good, even though it's from 1996, and the current one's just like, oh, it's just what happened. I mean, I know what happened, but
for reissues, I don't think they did any retool. Didn't retool. They just, I'm assuming they just used the existing tools they had for the figures. They didn't redo them. So, I mean, it's easy to forget that those
what do you mean by that?
All right, I'm talking about the actual molds they used to make the figures.
Because all the pieces are new. Every toy doesn't share parts, but they do share the transformation. A lot of the transformations are just the same.
Yeah, but what I mean is the reissue toys, the modern reissues. Part of the reason I've kind of assumed that the QC was the quality wasn't up to the standard of the original releases, was the degradation of the tools that they were using to make the figures.
Oh, I just built it up to how Hasbro does things now, quality control wise.
I don't know, because I mean, you got to remember that these had big releases internationally.
Yeah, but you also got to remember the quality control over the years for Hasbro has gone down dramatically. They're not as good as they were 10 years ago. Like if you compare like classics figures to legacy figures, they're just not the same. The Generations figures that came after classics as well were really good quality. And again, the production now is not nearly as good.
Yeah, that's a fair point to make.
Yeah. So in section, I'd say he has a strong, decent design. Not one. I think one that you can find without too much faff on eBay. He doesn't really get a lot of love because he's not a main character or anything like that.
Yeah, anyone who wasn't in the show is normally fairly reasonably priced because even if they're a good or great figure, there just isn't as much interest in them, which is a shame because Beast Wars has one of the best ratios of quality figures in the franchise, to my mind.
It's got a good track record, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about Armadillo?
He's a fun little goon, isn't he? A fun little bit of. I mean, he's one of the guys who shares the Rat Trap shell design effectively, which is probably one of the more interesting design choices they made because they used this configuration for 4 or 5 different characters,
something like that. Yeah,
and they made them all look fundamentally different to each other, whereas they could have just been straight repaints. I mean, the grey is solid, but orange is just so poppy. But there's so much detail as well across, except in underneath his armadillo head on torso.
Yeah, that's just
a bit plain.
Yeah, very, very just flat plastic without any.
Which I
detail
get because that's kind of where a lot of the transformation. It's got to be a bit strong because it's where spring-loaded gimmick kind of comes into play. But the rest of him is there's a lot of wonderful service detail there across his legs, his arms, the beast mode shell. It's all really nice, and he's got one of the more fun gimmicks as well with the 2 weapon options.
Yeah, the weapon storage on him, I think, was a pretty smart idea of how they just like they just have a peg and you just kind of swing the weapon forward, and otherwise they just peg into the bottom of the shell mode. I thought that was a fairly decent, smart way to do it. I didn't get Armadillo, but I did get Psycho Orb, I think his name was. Yeah, Psycho Orb from Robot Masters, which is the same, just a repaint in more of a brown color. Decent face sculpt on both of them regardless. I think I'm not as fond of the bright yellow. The bright orange on Armadillo. I don't know what it is. I think I like Psycho Orbs more brown. Maybe it's more realistic. Maybe it's the fact that the orange and the gray don't contrast each other desperately well. I don't know what you'd need to go with instead of the light Hasbro flat gray, but I think it needed something else. And I do really like that they have like a wash going over the detail so it pulls it out, but it's only on the head and it's only on the back of the shell. It doesn't carry over to his little arms or anything
wash
like that.
Had been on his arms, his legs. That would probably have done enough because that would have brought out all that surface detail we were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Would have been quite nice.
Assuming that Psycho Orb, he's got that nice, almost pale light grey blue color for his body.
No, it's just grey. It's just standard grey plastic, just like Armadillo. Yeah. Yeah, and he doesn't have shading. He just has a gold paint over certain parts of him. So,
but his colors do feel a bit more. Really? They do feel nice. And then you got Bump, who has that really nice deep red.
Yeah, again,
I think a lot better. That works better with the grey, I feel.
Yeah, Bump again is a little bit nicer visually. I'm not sure I like the washing this time around, which is the silver wash over the red. That's a strange choice.
Yeah, that's certainly we say gone with fair.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense because it kind of looks like an Autobot insignia. Gray
I was going to say that. That looks like what they were trying to go for. It's just
it's just a little bit weird. I think overall he still looks good. My favorite still goes Psycho Orb, then Bump, then Armadillo. Armadillo's nothing wrong with him. I just think in terms of repaints or paint jobs, he's the least interesting. I do like the face sculpt on him as well. It's quite nice. It's not one that's gonna, like you say, Big D set the world on fire, but it's like Bump's fine. So's Armadillo. Not Armadildo. Don't get confused. That would be a different thing you order online if you went for that. Next up, we have Snapper, one that I'd like to pick up, but I haven't yet. Snapper is just, again, the same transformation as you would expect, but this time it's a snapping turtle, and I really like the turtle mode. Let's talk about the turtle mode first, because it gives me a lot of vibes of Razor, is it? Or is it Tokar from Turtles?
It's Razor, I think, was the
turtle.
Snapping turtle, yeah.
Right, and Tokar was the dog, wolf thing?
Yes.
Yeah. I did something.
he was for canine.
I would really like to see Snapper here redone as a new toy and have a gimmick where the head like goes out, like you press a button on the back and the head like extends on a long neck, kind of like a real snapping turtle. Because
that'd be fun.
Real snapping turtles are terrifying and super damaging. They can fuck you up if you're not careful.
Yeah.
The paint scheme on Snapper works well. The greeny, grayish kind of color offset by the red, and then the wash is kind of a dirty, like toe jam yellow that goes into creases and crevice. But
it really it gives you that real. That text you get especially in turtle and tortoise shells. It gives you a bit of that vibe to it, which is a very hard effect to replicate, if I'm being honest. They've done it just with a wash.
Right? Like, just shit's gone in there, but you don't know what.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like this one.
And he's enough for a really fun shot as well. That cheeky little grin of his.
Got an interesting gun. Not as interesting as a weapon placement as the other two. This one just has a bit of shell that kind of unfolds the gun, but it's doable, it's usable. I might look on eBay tonight to see how much if a snapper is even online. I have no idea if one is or isn't, because you know what eBay's like these days.
I don't have one, or I'd ping you a message about him. But I know he's a lovely little figure.
You mentioned the face has a nice cheeky grin. I do agree, and it does have a lot of. It looks like other designs I've seen before on TV shows. But I'm not sure exactly where from. Exel Hedge says Tokar. Tokar is the snapping turtle. Oh, there you go.
Oh, was he? Huh.
Or the Unicron-sized space turtle. Or have a Unicron-sized... To be fair, a Unicron-sized space turtle would be quite cool, because then you could make it a crossover with Terry Pratchett stuff and do a Discworld turtle transformer. That'd be neat.
I was going to say Takara could do a crossover with Gamera.
That would also be cool. I'd be down with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's the holder of Gamera? I think it's Bandai that does the Gamera toys, right? Probably.
Maybe.
I would imagine so, because it has Godzilla.
Yeah.
I know Godzilla and Gamera are not under the same banner, but I imagine the same studio kind of hires the work out to them, I would guess. Did you have Igneous, Big D? The next Lado with his weird grimace?
I don't think I had him, but I think I had a version of his figure.
Oh,
or someone who shared his design.
Did you have the Beast Wars Neo Crazy Bolt? Because I had Crazy Bolt, which is just him but black and red. Oh well, brown and red.
I'm genuinely not sure, to be honest.
I always thought this. I remember looking at magazines and like Argos catalog images of Igneous and thinking, man, he must do a lot of transforming to get to that mode. Obviously, not realizing at the time that it was just the spring-loaded gimmick of him.
Yeah,
which was kind of funny, I suppose. I do like the color scheme, kind of 90s neon yellowy pea green color with a browny kind of off grayish brown. Work quite nicely for a gecko lizard thing. I kind of wish he had longer legs in his gecko lizard mode. I kind of want him to be, because is he meant to be one of those lizards that stands on the back legs and just runs at you going, I think
he might be, yeah.
Kind of wish his legs were longer then, so he could have that bow-legged stance like he's been riding a horse for 5 years. You know, I like it.
Yeah.
His profile's a little bit slender, you know, compared to the other ones that have a bit more oomph, and I think it's because of the neck ruffle. It might have been cool if the neck ruffle could have done something. Maybe it flipped up. Maybe you pull it off and it was a big like fan,
a shield of some sort.
Yeah, something like that. Because
Or maybe you could clip it onto a gun. That'd have been quite cool.
Oh yeah, that'd be neat.
Like a,
it's like a shield. You know how you get like big machine guns, and then you got like a bullet shield that goes over the top to protect your face. Something like that. That could be nice. Because his gun's fine. It's it's just his tail that flips around. It's like it's all right, not too crazy.
But it was nice that so much of this era was defined by having weapon integration.
Yeah,
which was such a rare thing up to this point. Proper weapons integrated into the beast mode, into the alt modes, and properly hidden.
Yeah, even with G2, they just kind of peg it on somewhere. Well, these they were hidden inside.
This is.
I guess you could equate these to the idea of like headmasters in a way, where if you lost a piece, you were kind of screwed. Like if you lost Ignis's tail, it's sad times. Big sad times.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And then we have Razor Beast. I remember having a Razor Beast. He's another good example of if you lose his gun, you lose the giant like boar main headpiece, which is a bit of a bummer.
I will say there's no thing over that's more distressing than with Beast Big Convoy.
Oh yeah, it's like his entire trunk.
It's his face basically. I got
of it.
The first big convoy I picked up off eBay was missing his gun, which I wasn't really fussed about at the time because I didn't really know much about. I thought I wanted just to see what. Because that dude is stacked.
Yeah, we lost you there for a bit, but I think
sorry.
I think I think I got what you were saying at least. It's just you were saying it was the main part of him that you were just missing, right?
Yeah, but that trunk with the big gun, without it, he just looks kind of horrific.
Oh, I bet. Yeah,
it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Razor Beast, as you mentioned, kind of sharing the same transformation idea. Let's say the idea as Rat Trap. I always liked that his arms pegged into his shell, so it kind of held them nice and tight. I think him and Rat Trap have some of the cleaner gimmicks of like transforming them back, because all you'd really do is peg their arms in and then just pull backwards and they just fold up nicely. Yeah. Not that the other ones didn't, but I think these were the cleanest of them.
Yeah, because they had a thing where their shell split as well. To kind of, they'd fold it out completely, not just folded up. Which was, again, it was unique, simple, and yet it worked so well. Always
a tad messy underneath, because you just have the legs kind of slightly folded up, and there'd be usually a big seam line down it. But for the time period and whatnot, you go, it's close enough to a pig. It's close enough to a rat. That'll do. As a kid, I didn't care too much. I don't know why I got Razor Beast though, because Razor Beast was one that I got in America, and I don't know why I got him, because he wasn't like a character I knew. Maybe he's just the only one there. It's just like, I'll have him. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Probably.
But yeah, Razor Beast, he's fine. I do have the version of Randy, which is the Beast Wars Neo version, which I will say, because it has silver paint on the face, is nicer. However, the figure's shit. You can literally crush him in your hand.
Is he gold plastic syndrome, is he?
Yep. Everything gold on that figure is gold plastic syndrome. So you can literally just squeeze him and he'll explode.
That's painful.
Not like hard. Like all you have to do, like if you know how you give like a firm handshake to someone, that's the kind of hand strength that you need just to crush him. And
see, now I want to see flex. I want to see someone. I want to see someone boop him on his snoot and see him just fall into dust.
It need to be a big boot.
Just his hairpiece left floating on the top of a pile of gold plastic flakes.
It's a sad time. It's one of those rare, like, he doesn't look bad gold. I don't know why they made him gold plastic. It's an odd choice. But he doesn't look bad. It's just gold plastic. It's, swirly and air bubbly and just turns to dust in your hand if you squeeze too hard for some reason.
Shame.
Yeah, definitely a shame. Then we have Rat Trap, who again, solid. He does just have like the best way to describe his robot mode is if you got a rat and you put it on like, you remember how like, at least on TV, American shows, they'd have the high schoolers doing like experiments on frogs where they'd pin frogs' legs. That's the rat trap. Like they've pinned a rat and they've split rat trap open, and it's just a robot in there. That's the robot.
Oh, that's wonderfully horrific. I love it.
Yeah. To me, I remember I never had this as a kid, but to me, I remember seeing images of him and assumed he could fly or at least glide.
You would have thought that, wouldn't you, with how his shell looks in that mode?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like almost a flying squirrel kind of pose.
Yeah, he does have a lot of backpack.
Yeah. More so than Razor Beast, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, Razor Beast, his is weird because his does there's a bit more folding in Razor Beast because it kind of tucks under him as well.
Well, it's more so that the legs don't stick out. They're on like a joint so you can fold them. Well, you don't really fold them away, but you just kind of, like you say, tuck them behind the back. Well, Rat Trap's legs, they're on ball joints for no reason. They could have just been swivels, but they can't really tuck away anywhere, so they're just kind of out there, unfortunately. Bless his little heart.
And unfortunately, Rat Trap, I do know from experience, he is a bit more back heavy than a lot of the other basics.
Yeah, they didn't give him any heals, unfortunately.
No. Which is a shame, because I mean, obviously being one of the heroes of the show that they picked, he's got one of the more iconic head sculpts in Transformers history, which actually looks pretty good here.
Yeah. Not correctly painted, obviously, but this was done before the show, so, what can you do?
But he's not a bad-looking robot by any stretch.
No, definitely not.
It's just... I don't want to say he's not the weakest of the basics of this wave.
Not at all.
Not by a stretch, but he's the one that possibly feels the most. Do I want to say compromise? There are things that he could have been better.
Yeah, I think it's mainly due to the heel spurs. I think if he could stand, I'd be a lot happier with him because I think the way that his gun works is the best. Because he comes for those that don't know, you get a bomb half of the barrel, and then you get the front half of the barrel, and you kind of click it together, which is quite nice and satisfying. Yeah. But it doesn't store us away in the robot mode as well as Armadillo's. Armadillo's pegs in. Rat Traps, there are small like crevices that you just kind of force them into. And you just kind of hope that they stay there. I don't remember them pegging in like properly and being like, that's secure. It's just like, it's got the idea that it's in there.
Yeah.
So,
but thankfully, being a main cast member, it does mean that we've had a couple of modern interpretations of him over the years, which have Threlling 30 and Kingdom both provided us versions of Rat Trap, but frankly were pretty kick-ass to my mind. Threlling 30 is a really nice mid-2000s deluxe class figure, which is nice and it's got a nice heft to him.
Yeah.
And a few fun gimmicks, like he has the bombs in his arms from the cartoon and his gun fully attaches and whatnot, like this one, into a much cleaner beast mode. And then the Kingdom Deluxe, the Kingdom Core version that I did of him, I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of that figure. I am, because I actually really like his arms for the way that they're fixed to his backpack, not to his torso. I think that's a fun way that they could get around the logistics of trying to make the beast mode work and the robot mode work without having to without having to really blow the budget on him. It was an elegant solution to my mind, but still gives you plenty of options.
Yeah,
and he still came with his gun, which is nice. And again, he poses like an absolute champ. I mean, I've got him about 2 foot from me in a sassy pose next to Optimus Primal, and he's been stood like that for about 2 years now. He sat on top of a Blu-ray player.
Have you seen the Takara repaint of him? It looks a little bit odd, I would say.
With the bronze paint for the head, that's
bronze paint for the head, bronze paint for the hands, like sweetie pink for the rat feet. It looks just off, mainly because the head is copper, but then the rest of the parts that are brown probably should have been copper as well, but aren't. So it's it's just slightly weird.
I think the paint budget ran out.
Yeah, there's just something that's not quite right about it, to be honest. You look at it and you go, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Next up.
I was just going to say, that pack rat repaint, though.
Oh, that's the blue one, right?
Yeah, blue, metallic blue with white and gold. That's tasty.
I never liked
Not
it.
Jeremy's cup of tea.
I wasn't a fan of the metallic blue and then offset by the white myself. It just it didn't do it for me color wise.
Fair enough.
But we do have.
Now and thinking, no, that's fine. I was just diversion. I was off on a tangent. You know what I'm like.
That's fine. That's fine. Next up, we have Pterosaur, who I don't think I've ever seen have the paint done desperately well inside of the face. Bless him. He transforms as instead of like the tail, it's the head. The head goes back and forth. His gun stores away all right, but he does have a lot of wing, and out of the TV cast members that are basics, the least accurate. Not that there are many TV accurate basics. It's like him and Rat Trap.
Not in this wave, to be fair.
No, it's just like I say, it's him and Rat Trap, and that's it.
Yeah.
I do like him, but the wings are again quite obnoxious. Just because you know that's not how they're meant to be. Yeah, you know. And in pterodactyl mode, he does have the feet just there. They're not really hidden at all. Bless them.
Yeah. Bless their cotton socks.
Like I say, I like it. I like the fact that it has a little mouth that can open and close. That's kind of cool. But generally, you kind of look at it and you go, yeah, this might be the weakest. Maybe it's because I've got that TV bias. But he's got so much backpack on him. I think it does kind of hamper him.
I think even without being a TV show character, I'd agree he probably is the weakest of the 96 basics wave.
Yeah, not terrible. And I do think he's got some decent repaints. I do like the fractal repaint. The Beast Wars laser beak, I think, is neat. Beast Wars Neo Hydra, who's just just laser beak.
Yeah. Some of those repaints are quite tasty.
Swoop's neat, and the Warmark 2-pack Dinobot Strafe. Again, they all look kind of nice. It's like a rainbow of diving pterosaurs, which I kind of do like. Axelhead says, Pterosaur pays the price for having his head in his butt. Oh, that's true. So true. Yeah, apt, I suppose, really, isn't it?
Is Axelhead talking about the toy or in the show?
Yes.
He kind of had his head in his ass in the show.
The answer is just yes. It just is how it is. No, do you like Pterosaur, Big D? Do you think it's a funnish toy again for what it is?
Yeah.
Its restrictions.
I mean, I agree with you that he is probably the weakest of this wave of basics. But then again, it's a fairly strong wave overall for price
for basics. Yeah, because what were these things? Were probably like £5 back in the day, something like that. I'm guessing
something like that. Yeah.
So,
literally pocket money toys.
Pretty much.
Not been funny. If I'd been buying these figs at that time, I'd have been more than happy to have a few of these in hand because, I mean, like we said, they all have ball joints. They all have shoulders, elbows, hip, knees. I'm sorry, that's an astonishing amount of articulation for pocket money toys.
Yeah, for the time period as well. It was a big push forward in terms of what figures could do.
Absolutely, and the fact that, like you said, they're ball joints, so they're actually quite forgiving if they do just pop on and off.
Oh yeah, definitely. But then it took, you didn't just like play with the figure and the joints fell off, like the reissues, which is how it felt with them.
No, but
these
they
held on well.
Yeah, but for ball joints meant that if you were making a mistake, you weren't as likely to break them.
Yeah,
they were more likely to pop off, which is quite a cool thing I found.
Yeah, I'm down with it. And the last two for the basics we have is the Crocodile Megatron and Optobat. Optimus Bat, which came in a 2-pack with a VHS, if I recall correctly.
A VHS that bore no resemblance to what's happening with the toys.
No. Wasn't it the first episode of the show? It's like part 1 of
I think it was. I think it was,
yeah. Who knows why? It's just, I guess they went fucking bundle them together. They're not in the fucking show. Who cares? So Megatron, the alligator, obviously using a lot of igneous ideas, but with a slight change to it. And Primal, I don't know if Primal is, I mean, he's I think he's unique. I don't recognize his general transformation. I mean, it's just, as much as these differ from each other,
He's kind of a variant on Pterosaur's transformation. The wings are orientated in the opposite direction.
I'm looking at how
Pterosaur.
Do you see where the metal pins are? That looks different from how Pterosaur, his internals work. I'm not saying it's massively different, but I don't think Pterosaur has that like almost triangle going through his body.
Yeah, I see what you mean there. Yeah.
I don't know.
I was thinking more in terms of kind of like the chest piece is a similar sort of size to Pterosaur, so it would make sense that they shared that sort of engineering. But it's interesting that because he did get repaints.
He did, yep.
There's 2 different characters later on. And it's a very Batman design, isn't it? That head sculpt.
Oh yeah.
It's such a Batman head. I'm amazed they didn't get sued for it.
I mean, they could have tried to sue for Owlman because it's got the Owlman-esque mask, or even what's his name from Bloody Watchmen?
Oh, Night Owl.
Night Owl. Yeah, it's got that kind of vibe to it.
But no, I mean they're both decent figures. I mean, Megatron is using that iguana.
You broke up again there, Big D. I assume you said he's using the Iguanus mold.
The Megatron head. All right, maybe not as much.
No, you broke up again, so we have no idea what you said.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. He's using a bit of the Iguanus tooling in the design there. I mean, we even say it down the bottom that Mold 1 is Megatron, Mold 2 is Iguanus.
Yeah.
But it's a decent toy. It's got some nice colors to it. It's a very... There's shades of G2 Megatron in that color scheme, I find. That bright green for the arms.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of how the actual figure looks in terms of, like, you say this is Megatron, I definitely see this as a Megatron. And like again, the colors on him are nice, the kind of swampy green and then brighter grassy green with the purple face play off really well against each other. And even the sculpt for the head has like little teeth, like crocodile teeth poking out the bottom jaw, kind of orky in a way with the under tusks.
I see that.
Yeah, it's not as good as T-Rex Megatron, obviously, and it has nothing to do with the show. It's not in there at all. But I think, again, a nice, interesting design for a Megatron at a basic price point that wasn't in the show. Not bad. And the Primal was the same.
Yeah, because I mean, this and Primal, because they were the 2-pack with the VHS, this is what a lot of kids would have been their first real introduction to this playstyle and these characters. I think this is a good way to introduce them to.
It's not bad doing a 2-pack, like the leaders of both on each side. It's like, yeah, why not? VHS, you want to get into the show? Here you go.
Yeah, and it's an idea that Hasbro and Takara have come back to a few times in recent years.
Yeah, agreed.
Over the years, I should say. And it's not been a bad idea, because throw the 2 leaders in a box, job done. That's a pretty good way to get folks motivated, especially if you've got some of the episodes as well.
But that thankfully brings us out of the basics and into the deluxes with Cheetor and Tigatron, who are obviously just a repaint of each other, but were in the show and were different characters and different looking, but for the purpose of this, they were just the same toy. Cheetor had his gut gun and his tail gun. His gut gun was a water pistol, which was crap. It did not function well as a water pistol. And this was obviously the introduction of the mutant faces, which I'm glad they didn't keep, because the mutant faces were crap. They looked weird. And then even as a kid, I wasn't quite sure what the play plan was to use the mutant masks. I didn't get it.
It was an odd choice, wasn't it?
Yeah, I had no idea what the idea for it was. Like, was it powered up form? Well, it wasn't in the show, so who knows?
Yeah.
What did you think about these two figures, Big D? Did you like the transformations on them?
Yeah, they're nicely involved. I've always been a bit salty that this mold, the beast mode head sticks out so much in robot mode, but there's not really a lot they could have done about that. Beast mode is fine. It seems more Tiger than Cheetah to me, so it works. I feel it works a bit better for Tigertron because it gives him that heft that a tiger should have. Not so much for Cheetah, but again, trying to do a live and speedy character like that at this price point in the mid-90s, to have that robot mode as well, was going to be a challenge by any stretch. And it is a solid figure. I mean, it poses reasonably well. You've got two guns, one of which does have a sadly poor gimmick.
Yeah.
And also some unfortunate storage going on.
For which
underneath
one?
The gut gun. Look where the barrel points out.
Oh, I like the gut gun. It's like it's coming out of his tummy. Like while he's running along, he would shoot his gut gun at people. I saw it as a cool feature, like a mask toy. You know, when they just pop out a gun randomly.
Yeah, that's fair. I get that.
And it wasn't coming out of the bomb half, so it didn't look like a penis. So it could have been worse.
That's very true. It could have been a lot worse. It took them a few years to come up. How long did it take them to do a horse character? It was
Neo.
One. Yeah.
It was Mac.
And of course it was in Japan that they did it as well.
It's a terrible figure. It's a mess.
Yeah. But no, first season, deluxe class. This is a good starting point. It's solid.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. He's got bicep swivels. He's got an elbow bend which goes all the way up because of the transformation. He's got universal hips. He's got below the thigh swivel and decent knees. He can't pose too much because of the weird feet design.
Yeah,
and he had a waist joint as well of a sort. Yeah, no, he did have a waist joint. So yeah, he has, and his head could turn left and right as well. So decent amount of articulation.
There's a slight heel spur because of the way his beast mode paws form his heels, but it wasn't a brilliant one, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately. Like you said, I think his biggest downside was how far that head protruded out in front of his chest. It feels like the joint that head is on wants to compress more, but for some reason it can't. It's got this big angle on it. I guess they always wanted to have the Cheetor head pointing downwards as well, which is weird because it would look better if it was like facing front as it does in the show. It was a weird choice.
Yeah, you really can't see much of his face when you've got him posed kind of straight on.
Yeah.
You've got a camera at eye level to him. It's just like, dude, can you lower your... Dude, stop flexing. Let your chest relax.
Yeah, it was a weird choice. I really liked the fact that he came with two guns, and I think this transformation generally was good, and it was so good in fact that when they did the Kingdom version, they didn't really change a huge amount.
Yeah, and in fairness, they've made a couple of. I mean, given that they'd already tried redo them once in Generations, and that one Meth Kitty was not a good time. Meth Kitty was rough. I'm a big fan of Generations for how and Classics for how they made a real effort to modernize both the vehicle and the robot modes on a lot of characters. Cheetor's a case where that really didn't work out very well for them.
Yeah,
bless them for trying.
I would say Dinobot as well. I didn't think those were good when they came out. I remember Dave had both, and I was like, no, I don't want these.
Yeah, they were both lacking, which is a shame because the Chug Waspinator was brilliant. I thought.
Which one was that?
That was Thrilling 31.
I can't remember it offhand. I can only think of the Kingdom one, unfortunately. This guy's had quite a few redos over the years. I don't think he's... Oh, next year, 1997, they repainted him into Shadow Panther, or the Tripedicus Agent. Just a really good repaint of him as well, to be honest. But there's Cheetor, Tigatron, Green-Eyed Cheetor, versus Blue-Eyed Cheetor.
Oh God, the variants.
The variants, yeah. And then there was the Takara version of Cheetor, which again isn't that different. The Tigatron version of Cheetor, which again isn't that different. The Fox Kids version of Cheetor, which is really not very different. It's just more metallic-y, generally.
The colours look more like his Transmetal 3 figure, to be fair. Much more metallic, much more orange going on. Not as much, not as different as the Transmetal 2 version, but bringing more of that organic element with
it was a weird choice.
Metallic fur. Yeah, very odd.
And there was the Fox Kids version, sorry, the 10th anniversary version, which it just seems like the blue was darker. And then there was the, what's it called? Telemoke? I don't know what that is, but it's another Japanese
South American version?
I don't know. Oh my God, have you seen his horrible Cheetor yellow eyes?
Ugh!
It's like you've given the cat catnip. He's having a real good time.
Arguably more animation accurate than any other figure in terms of how he looked. In terms of how Cheetor's eyes looked in his beast mode.
Oh, I would say it's accurate in terms of. Do you remember when he says hi to the Cheetos in the first episode and they get bug out?
Their eyes bug out.
Yeah, it's got that appearance to them. But you're right. This is technically more accurate, I think.
Yeah, this is a Cheetor who has seen some shit.
Yeah, horrible stuff. But yeah, the molds was used a decent amount over the years. I would agree with you as well that it's not the best representation of a cheetah. It was clearly Tigatron first, and then doing fucking cheetah as well in it. It's just a decent figure though, worth picking up. He's not one to sleep on. Wolf Fang, who's an interesting doggo. There's I think in 97 they did K9. Yeah, 97 K9. K9's not very good. I don't like K9. Wolfang has a okay transformation, some really fun accessories, a cool mutant mask, which reminds me a bit of a Batman look to it because it's got like wings on the side of its head.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he has Sentinel Prime's chin from Animated because of the mask. For those that don't know, and even looking at the image here, you'd be like, what are you talking about, Andy? If you look at him from a side profile, the head is where the head would be, and then the chin just kind of goes like horizontally, just outwards. It just comes out at a weird angle. It looks really fucking weird.
Andy, is it just me, or from a distance, does his mouth instead look like a mustache to you?
Kind of. I think that's just because the photographer had a flash, and the flash went off, and it does look a little bit mustachio. 100% agree. Don't think that's. I don't think in person it would be as noticeable.
No, because the close in shot is clearly teeth, but I'm kind of thinking it works better as a mustache on the far out angle because the way his little soul patch they've given him, that kind of works better as lips, arguably.
I can see
underneath the stash, but no, it's a novel set of colours. That grey wolfhound over black with that lovely teal, light blue teal colour. That's really a nice set of colour combinations.
Yeah, I'd say this though is a bit of a downgrade from Cheetor because a lot of parts get a bit bumpy. He's got those dog head shoulders, and then on his arms, he's also got the dog arms, which all kind of, the dog arms and the dog head all kind of cladder together when you move them around, which is a bit of a problem.
The robot mode is a bit of a mess, unfortunately, in terms of everything goes.
Like Takara saves it many years from now in the year 1998. 2 years from this, 2 years from this point, when they make Max B, the cyborg version of him. That's the best version of the mold. But we won't be talking about that for a while. I love how you store the missiles. You basically use them as his rib cage and spine. I think that's a really fun way to store the missiles because they are very big, like hook missiles. Otherwise, his tail gun is not as good as Cheeto's tail gun, I don't think, but it looks like a substantial gun, just a substantial gun that's owned by a furry, thus has a big fluffy tail on the end. Unnecessarily so. And the big riot shield works as well.
Yeah, and the thing is, his gun doesn't look bad without the missile either.
No, it looks like just a gun. Yeah, it doesn't look. Yeah, I would agree that these kind of we have a hook gun kind of things. Sometimes they don't work without the missile in them. This just looks like a gun. I think you could even have him hold the missiles as like weird pickaxe tomahawks, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think they've got the right size pin on them for that. Yeah,
just about. And like I say, the mutant mask. It's too big. Like his eyes are too far out the side of his head for them to be accurate. But it's better than Cheeto's, arguably. I suppose. At least I prefer it more so. And I think the dog mode, dog mode's not too bad. It's a little bit boxy in places, but it's like it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to say on K9? Not K9. On Wolfgang.
Well, I was going to say, ironically, that's really weird. I might be thinking of a different character then, because I was sure I had K9, but mine didn't look like the picture that they've got in robot mode. Weird.
Do you have the other Wolfgang? Because there's the 2007 reissued, which is just him with the red chest.
No, I've got a version that's much more muted colours. Weird. I'll have to look into that. I might be getting confused with a different character, to be fair. But no, it's all right. Like we said, the robot mode suffers a bit from. It's not as nice as Cheeto's.
Yeah, I'd still say he's not the weakest.
No, the beast mode is kind of cool.
Yeah,
and like you say, his equipment is quite substantial even for this time period. Shield, gun, 2 missiles.
Yeah,
that's a nice package by any stretch.
And all can be stored on the robot and the dog all at the same time.
Yeah,
which is great. It's like, oh, nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All fun things. And we have Dinobot next, who is a little bit on the weak side and has some really fucking bizarre coloring. We have Fleshlight Dinobot. He is skin colored with translucent legs, which are also flesh colored for some reason. And he is.
Don't forget that they're ribbed.
They are ribbed. That's true. He does almost look like the Dinobot from the show. The head's incorrect though, but it is. It's almost right. The transformation is.
Yeah,
a little bit wobbly. I guess.
Everything about him is almost there.
Yeah, it's just
really painful.
It's just a little bit messy in places. Like the Raptor mode would be okay if you just pop the robot mode legs off, because otherwise it looks like he's carrying the legs, which looks a bit weird. Still I'll never understand why they decided flesh colored was the way to go, ever, because no dinosaur in Jurassic Park looks like that either. And accessory wise, he's a step down again from Cheeto and Wolfgang. He's got a spinning tail thing, and he has his sword, but the sword, because it has to go into the curved tail, also has to be curved as well, just as good. But the blade tail thing does spin around like it does in the show, so that's kind of nice. And he does have a mutant head, which is the top half of a dino's raptor skull, but it's also translucent and put on the side of his head. So when you have him transformed and you don't want the mutant mode, the side of the mutant masks just kind of awkwardly sit on the side of his shoulders, because his shoulders are quite high up. It never lets you fully get rid of them, unfortunately. What did you think of this figure then, Big D?
I mean, like you said, it's a series of really weird choices. I mean, he has quite a nice head sculpt.
Yeah. It's way more G1, obviously. But
apart from that, he also has two halves of a raptor skull hanging off either side of his head.
Yeah.
It's such a shame. But he's probably one of the ones that has the most compromises going on because of that sword, the fact that it has to bend to fit inside the tail. That's a shame. The fact that I don't think he had a... No, wait, he did have post in his palms, didn't he? Because that was the only way he could hold anything.
Yeah, he couldn't hold it like a normal person would. He'd hold it more like a fencing sword.
He'd hold everything straight out, which was weird. But at least you get some poses like in the cartoon out of him. But yeah, and I mean, the cartoon went for a brown skin tone for him, but they went much darker, so it's much more... It looks more leathery than this, which, like you say, does just look like flesh and makes him really, really weird and uncomfortable.
If you want an example of what kind of color scheme he's gone for, and you're a white guy and a man, get your testicles in your hand, stretch it, and that's the color. That's the color of him. He's testicle white. You know, it's interesting. Exelhead says, "Is it me or does Wolfgang with the mutant mask look like an unfuse or Silverbolt?" I wonder if that was the idea for what Silverbolt became in the future. They looked at Wolfgang.
Maybe, yeah.
I could see that.
That's not a bad shout, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
Because obviously Hasbro development of things and like... what were they called? Mainframe's development of the show, obviously two very different things and didn't align. So I could see those two being the thing. Dinobot-wise, another thing I didn't like too much about this Dinobot mold is the hips are very slender. Because of how the transformation has to work, the actual hips aren't very wide apart. They are just kind of squashed in there. He does get better repaints in the future, but not for a while.
Yes.
The Dinobot repaint for Fox Kids is probably my favorite, I think.
Oh yeah, that's a really... It's a different paint job, but it's nice.
Yeah. It's not quite right, but it's like you look at it and you're like, yeah, it's okay, that's fine. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, he's had a few redos over the years. He gets redone into Hardhead and Dinotron in 99 and 2000 for Neo and for the bizarre Dinobot only line. And Thruster again is the best version of him, but we're going to be talking about Thruster again in the future.
I do have to chuckle at the fact that his first repaint was as Grimlock.
Yeah.
And it was for one character that was absolutely explicit on his data card that, yes, this is the G1 Grimlock.
Yep. Yeah, it was
no one else has anything like that. It's like, oh, okay.
Which is weird because he doesn't really look like Grimlock apart from the head. Like his color scheme is not really Grimlocky, but you know, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
Weird.
Yeah, so Dinobot, unfortunately, a little bit of drop again. I think it gets better with Waspinator and the repaint into Buzzsaw. Waspinator, the mutant head mode, it's got them incorrectly here. The mutant head mode was the show head that we know, and the robot head, very kind of boring, because it's gray on gray, so I'm glad they didn't use that, but kind of an interesting... They've got it incorrectly transformed here for the image, because the legs are on like ball joints and should fall down and pretend to be extra insect legs, which don't look the best, granted, but they look better than how they're transformed here.
Yeah, they do stand out, those legs.
Yeah, they're clearly not the insect legs that they want, but it's the best that they could do. We have to transform the legs. We need extra bug legs. What are we going to do? Yeah, just...
I know!
Just flip them out. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Okay, sure. What else are you going to do with them? Job. What else are you going to do with them? I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think of Waspinator, then? Do you like him?
I've always had a soft spot for Waspinator.
Even the toy, or just the character?
It's probably more down to due to the character more than anything, but the toy's still got some fun stuff going on. The way that the beast mode head splits to accommodate robot chest. That's certainly novel. It's nothing else. Yeah, the robot legs becoming one of his pairs of beast mode legs. They don't look anything like it, but give them points for at least they tried. The way his gun slots into his bug butt, that's just hilarious. Never won't be. And the thing is, his actual proper robot head is a surprisingly decent one, especially when it's repainted into Buzzsaw.
Yes, I think Buzzsaw pulls off the robot head way better. I think generally, if we're looking strictly at the toys, Buzzsaw is the better looking toy.
Buzzsaw's clearly had more budget spent on him.
I don't know if it's more budget. I just think it's better, a better design concept, because with Waspinator, they used a very dark greens, and my main issue is too much gray. He's got the gray on the biceps, he's got gray on his head, then dark gray for his face, and then a big, like, flat gray on his chest, where those grays are purples to offset the, purple and offset by yellow and black. That's a really good color combination. So I don't think he's had more money spent on him. I just think the planning stage of what colors should go on Buzzsaw was better.
Yeah.
And they had a better idea than Waspinator.
And it's ironic that Buzzsaw looks more like a wasp than Waspinator.
Yeah, do we know why Waspinator was green? Because, wasps aren't green.
I have no idea.
No, I don't know. No.
Just one of those weird things.
Yeah, I think the good, maybe if you want to be kind, the good thing about, like you say, the mutant head here and the robot mode head here is it makes them distinct, because in your mind, as a fan, Waspinator's head's this weird insect bug one. So fine. If it was the normal robot head, then it would be in the same kind of area of Cheetor and Tigatron, where you'd look at the mutant mask and you'd be like, what the fuck is this? This is stupid. Why has he got a stupid bug face? But that's not how history panned out, thankfully. And thus it makes these two figures subsequently more unique thanks to that.
Yeah.
Also, the good thing about the mutant head here versus the other mutant heads is it's not just bits of a mutant mask on the side of a head, and it's not you flip the head down and it's just on the mutant mask thing is on the back of the robot head. These are two separate heads that you can.
I was going to say that because I couldn't remember quite in my head if they were two separate heads.
Yeah.
But looking at it, it's much cleaner.
Yes, a lot cleaner. They don't have the same gimmick as, do you remember back in the day? Do you remember the old Power Ranger toys where you would pull their arm down and the head would spin around in their chest and it would have the helmet on or the helmet off? It's the same idea, but without the actual gimmick to do it. You flip the chest, or you unpeg the wasp head, and then you can flip down the purple, I think, and then you just kind of spin them around. Something like that. It's been a while since I fiddled with my Waspinator.
Yeah, that sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah, it's a cleaner way of doing it than the other ways. And the mold, again, has had a few redos, mainly into Buzzsaws. The Fox Kids Waspinator isn't too bad. I like the slightly muted colors from Buzzsaw. Kind of yellow and
nice.
Goldy yellow and blue, like Fenrisian blue, I think work quite nicely together.
That's striking angel plate got on there. Yeah,
and then Dirge Gun, which is again the best version of the mold. But we, again, not talking about Dirge Gun for a while, unfortunately. But yeah, Buzzsaw is the better figure, but obviously Waspinator won out the role, maybe for the best. I don't know. And I would say the next one, in my opinion, is the worst of the deluxes. It's Rhinox.
Yeah, it hurts to say it, but he is kind of a bit crap, isn't he?
So I know why I don't like him. Why don't you like the Rhinox figure? Since I've said it's the worst one, and you kind of agree, why do you not like the Rhinox figure yourself? Apart from obviously just looking at it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll qualify this by saying that I like the fact that, one, his colours are probably some of the closest to the show version of the character. That's in his favour.
Do you mean compared to the other deluxes?
Compared to a lot of the other deluxes.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah, him and Cheetah
nice
and
bronze.
Tigatron are about right, and he's about right as well. Yeah, I'd say that's fair. Yeah.
But he's such a shell.
Yeah.
And not in a good way, because everything. I mean, his legs hang off. Well, his forelegs hang off his arms.
Mm-hmm.
His most of for most of his beast mode rear end hangs off his hips, and they're just such big, chunky components. There's nothing. I know he's a rhino, but compared to all the others who have got some really interesting stuff going on with their transformations and how they integrate the beast parts, I think doing integration a lot. All the others do seem to do a better job of integrating stuff, and this one just doesn't. And then you got that mutant head as well. The way that is, it looks like he's about to be tortured.
You know, it's funny. Like, there's barely any difference between the mutant head and his normal head.
Yeah, it's a case of, well, why did you bother? Because that expression is the same as that expression.
And they're both green. The only difference is the mutant face has sharp teeth, I guess.
Maybe.
I don't know what kind of, like, a alligator mutant or something. But you're right, though. Like, the main issue with this figure is everything bonks into everything else. Because of his giant skirt, which reaches all the way down to the ground. You know, I guess you could use them to help balance him, I suppose. So maybe that's a benefit. If you want to pose the legs, they're going to clatter into them. You're going to pose the arms. The back of the rhino legs are going to clatter into the skirt for the most part. It's just a mess all around. It's just too much. Yeah. It almost feels like a basic figure. If this was a basic figure, I'd be like, okay, I get why it's got like all this shit just hanging off of him, because it's a basic. But like you said, we've seen how the other figures kind of handle a bit more of the clatter. And the only one that is comparable is Wolfgang, and Wolfgang isn't nearly as bad as this. Dinobot, maybe you could argue, is a bit more comparable, but Dinobot was just a weird transformation mess in itself.
I will say, though, I do like his beast mode.
Yeah, that's a solid rhino.
But that's mainly because, well, look at how much is hanging off him in robot mode. That's why it's a solid beast mode, because it all just plugs together.
Yeah, really that's why I say he's more like a basic, because he doesn't really do a lot of transforming. A lot of it is, like you say, held together by the fact that he is mostly a shell former, and it just kind of folds up underneath him. I will say I like the fact that he comes with his Gatling gun. That's nice. It's a shame there's only one of them, and he doesn't have both of them like he did in the show.
And he can't actually hold it like a Gatling gun either. He kind of holds it like a weird whole level, the disc level, and spins the maces around in a really bizarre.
I have a feeling that's the idea of what this was originally, and I guess the guys went, that's silly, we need him to have a gun, so we'll make it this bizarre saw blade machine gun.
Well, I mean, you look at the actual disc, the component, and you just think, well, yeah, that does look like barrels for a really cool looking chain gun.
Yeah, but originally, that makes more sense. For a designer, it's like, oh, this is a saw. You know, it's only then like someone looks at it and goes, gun? Yeah, gun.
Chain guns of doom.
Chain guns of doom.
I think Mainframe made the right choice there.
Yeah, it makes it a cooler weapon. I mean, even in the thing in the tech spec, you can see how he holds it, and he holds it like a melee weapon. So it makes sense, but it shows that Mainframe did the cooler thing and made these a lot more interesting, I think.
Yeah, I will say that apart from his sword that does fit quite nicely in as his tail.
Oh yeah.
I could never find a decent way to store the mace, the disc, or the gun base.
Where were they? When they meant to be stored in his like stomach or something? You know, where you see on the robot mode where you flip up the bottom jaw and then you have the skirt piece. Wasn't there like a hole underneath that? It's like a big square.
I think that's what they were supposed to do, but I could never make it work on my one.
Oh, really?
I don't know if it might have just been me, but I could never find a way that it made sense for how it fit. So,
yeah, it's been a while again since I played with this, and I wouldn't rush back to figuring out. But yeah,
no, but I would certainly, definitely the weakest deluxe of this wave.
Yeah,
Sadly,
Rhinoxes over the years have always had a hard go at it. There's not been a lot of really good Rhinox figures, unfortunately, and I think it's just the nature of the beast of having to try and get him to look like the CG model from a rhino. Obviously, that's not what was happening here because they started off with the original design. Rocky, not the best. Like I say, my least favorite. One of the better ones.
I mean, they got better though, because I mean, Thrilling 30 and again Kingdom, those two Rhinoxes in the Voyager class point.
Now, one of them was really shit, and I can't remember which one it was.
Oh, I quite like both.
Generations?
To be honest,
Did he have a Generations release as Rhinox?
Yeah, that was the Thrilling 30 release.
That was crap. I remember that. That was a bad figure.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. That was messy with a lot of parts bumping into each other too, if I remember. But we have Tarantulas next. He's not a scientist. He's a ninja warrior. And we also have Black Arachnia, who is a double agent. Again, kind of doing the same idea that Waspinator was doing, with one using one of the mutant faces and the other one didn't. Now, obviously, for Black Arachnia, they changed her face to make it look like a girl or a woman rather than the Nightbird, oddly enough. It's got way more of a Nightbird head than anything else.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was an intention back in the day. But Tarantulas has a pretty simple transformation, but pretty effective overall look. He's just, I think he's got the same problem that Waspinator had, which was they went, how about gray plastic? And you go, oh, his head is gray. And it's not as bad, but his shins and inner thighs are gray as well. But the main problem is, again, the same with Waspinator, they made his head gray. And the 10th anniversary of this version of the figure is a lot better because they actually color it correctly, and it looks way better. The best version of the original mold is the 10th anniversary version. Unless there's
I'm looking at that now, and I agree, because they even went with that slightly off grey color for his limbs, which is much more. Well, one, it's much more keeping with the anime model, and two, it just offsets the purples a lot nicer.
Better than grey, than flat grey.
Absolutely.
My biggest problem with the mold is the way that the arms work, because in the show we know how his hands are meant to look. And you have to, if you didn't know, if you get your hand, you break your wrist and you turn it the wrong way around, like a Lego person's wrist. That's kind of like the way that you get access to Tarantulas' elbow joint. You have to have his hands the wrong way around, and it looks weird. It doesn't look right. Looks off. That's my only issue, really, with the mold. Otherwise, he's, again, fairly fun, posable, standard for the time, doesn't really do anything exceptional. It's nice that, you can pull off 4 of his legs, which is, I don't know why you can pull off all of his legs and use them as missiles. No, you can pull off 4 of them. The top ones you can't, but the bottom ones you can, if I remember rightly. Or is there only 2 of them you can pull? It's something like that.
I think there's 2 sets that you couldn't, because I wanted to at least have some of them that were stable in beast mode.
Yeah.
Although that's stable in quotation marks, because I could never make any of. Because I think I had a version of this mold once upon a time, and I could not make it stand up for a damn.
Oh, really? Mine's never had too much of an issue standing. Is it just the ball joints in his hips or something?
I think it's just the ball joints in. I mean, for the beast mode more than anything, for the ball joints in those legs.
No, yeah, that doesn't happen. Yeah, there's no way there's no way that those legs can hold up that much weight. It just doesn't work. Yeah,
the actual robot is fine.
No, and the spider mode, the tarantula mode, again, looks like a tarantula, at least from a kid's perspective. He's got his gun, which stores in his ass as well, just like Waspinator. Probably the same idea because it looks like a similar shape. And he also has the Black Arachnia grappling hook Batman thing, because, spider grappling hook. They also said he's a ninja here, so it's like, that makes sense.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. To be fair, the spider face does look like the spider robot mutant head does again look ninja-y, and the robot quote unquote robot head does look ninja-y. So, it makes sense. They obviously didn't do that for the main show. Black Arachnia does not have the cartoon colors, as we know. The spider
or
does.
the cartoon body.
No.
'Cause
But it's nice to
yeah.
see that they started off with the idea of it just being a repaint, and they went, "Oh well, we need a girl character. Well, a Black Widow woman. There you go, good enough." Toys, obviously, Hasbro were never going to do a female body for a Transformer toy because Transformers are primarily for boys. Why would you make a girl's toy for a boy brand? It just doesn't make sense financially speaking. And Black Arachne, even the repainted version of her. For the Telemoko, they try and make it look more like Black Arachnia color scheme wise. And I mean, color scheme wise, yeah, they did it. It just doesn't it just doesn't work because it's not Black Arachnia. But they tried their best. They tried their best.
I think that's the best you can say. Really, they tried, bless them.
Yeah, they tried their best, and for what they're doing, if you want a reissued version of Black Arachnia in the cartoon accurate colors. Well, there you go. That's it. It just doesn't look right.
I have to say, though, I do actually quite like the colours of her basic toy mode.
The original one.
There's some really... Yeah, I do like these colours. You got the purples, the bronze, the green, little bits of grey and black mixed in. That's not a bad...
I don't know why, but the colour scheme makes me think of... And I can't say, again, I can't say why. It makes me think of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles villain color scheme. And I don't know why. I think it's because it's just like it's a lot of colors. I won't say that they work. I think they work for how about this? They work for the 90s, right?
That's fair.
Because this is not a color combination that you should really put out because it's just bizarre.
No.
It's a weird color scheme. And we know it's weird because we saw the Kingdom version of this figure, and again the Kingdom version looks a little strange.
That's true.
It's not bad, and they are kind of hinting back to this. It just looks visually off, but it looks better than I think. Between the two of them, I think because I hate the gray plastic so much on Tarantulas, I'd begrudgingly give it to Black Arachnia. Has the better color scheme. But begrudgingly.
I'll say that as well.
And it's mainly because I don't like that grey. Maybe.
That's fair. That's perfectly fair.
Yeah, it's not good. They're not Voyagers. These are the Megas. The Mega figures. We have Inferno. Now, if you told me, Big D, that you couldn't get this guy to stand up in robot mode, I would 100% believe you. Because bless him, he has... you need him to have really good stable knee joints and really good stable hip joints. And going from deluxe having ball joints to going to Mega/Voyagers having ball joints is a very different ball game. And I think Hasbro started to learn this over time with the Beast Wars figures.
And Inferno does have a lot of ass going on.
Yes. Very neat design. One of the more faithful toy to cartoon adaptations, mostly. But it's hampered by the fact that, like you say, he has all of the bug ass, and not a great transformation. His ant mode is good if you kind of squint at it. I feel
I admire them for trying to find novel ways to hide the ant mode legs, at least two of the pairs.
Yes.
So the way that it's not. I wouldn't say it was successful because those legs were quite weak, especially as they were also pushing against other ball joints.
And for some fucking reason, they went clear plastic. Yep.
Yeah.
Clear plastic ball joints that hold up a majority of the weight of the figure. What could go wrong? It's like, oh no.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a nice looking clear plastic. All that
it is
that kind of that glitter effect.
It is what we call a royal red, I think.
Oh my! With a bit of salmon pink on the hips and the arms.
I don't know why they went for salmony pink for the standard plastic.
It's an odd choice, but all right.
I'm not sure if that's deliberate. I don't know if that's deliberate. If that's like when they try and mold translucent black and then paint it yellow and go, see, it's the same color as the rest of the figure currently, and you're like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is the same idea. I don't know. It does seem like a strange choice though to have him like just like groin pink and then shoulders pink and then the rest of him Blood Angels red mostly.
Yeah.
Do
you think that someone tried to make him all clear plastic and then someone else in design studios slapped him and said, "Stop it"?
I wonder. I don't know. I'd hope that no one was silly enough to be like translucent plastic all the way through, boys. Maybe.
I mean, that salmon does seem to form basically the frame for the torso, effectively. So you got I think for beast mode, it forms the pinion for the spinny parts of the butt. It's where the butt pivots onto the hips, and then it's the actual thorax of the bottom.
I think it's the actual gimmick part as well of the ass.
Yeah. So it's kind of where all the pressure's going.
Yeah. So maybe there was some knowledge about it, and then the rest of it was kind of there. But yeah, the ant mode is he just kind of lies. He kind of falls on his face, like his legs split apart, like it's prom night or something, and then his ass goes in between that, and then he just kind of falls forward. Like you say, it's an interesting idea to try and get the black insect ant legs to unfold from the inside, but it doesn't quite work. And also the black insect legs are his missiles for one of his guns, which is
that's tempting fate.
Yeah. His gun and mandible thing doesn't look like the show at all. The show did a much better idea of he just has a fucking rocket launcher, one-armed cannon thing, rather than this weird mandible melee weapon and really kind of piddly gun.
The cartoon embraced madness with Inferno. I think that's the first character they just went, you know what? Let's just go nuts.
Yeah, but I will say the head sculpt pretty decent, pretty accurate, mostly.
The head sculpt's just living his best life.
Yeah, he's very happy.
He love it. He's having a great old time.
Yeah. Exile Hedge says, out of the shadow, the show characters, why does Inferno get to keep his gray head? I don't know. Well, technically, his head, I suppose you could argue, should be like metallic-y blue, but this is like the one time where you go, the gray head's fine because it's close enough, I suppose.
Yeah, and they gave him those nice bright red eyes with the eyeshadow, which is probably unintentional. And I mean, it's probably asking a bit much, but if they'd maybe just painted his teeth and not his entire gob white, but as is, it just gives him that really vivid smile effect, which we've all come to know and love in our lovable Pyromaniac.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if they just painted the teeth individually, it would look a little bit nicer. But yeah, what can you do?
There's a charm to it.
What did you think of the ass spinning gimmick? Because I wasn't a big fan of it. I thought it was okay, but it wasn't a big play feature.
It was so silly. See, I didn't have him, but my housemate at university did. We did this weird thing where we split the factions. He went Predacons and I picked up all the Maximals.
Oh, that's cool.
We were weird like.
You're still there. Okay,
I remember when
you broke up.
Yeah, sorry. But Inferno was one of the ones that we all just like to have a mess around with. If we like crashed into his room to chill out watching movies on the beanbags, whatever, he'd be an easy figure just to tool around with and fiddle with for a bit.
So it's got a lot of like nostalgic memories for you, just Inferno.
Yeah. I mean, not a great figure, not a bad one. Fun.
Yeah.
Probably does the gimmick better than most figures of this era.
I'm trying to think, like, how does he compare to the others? He's probably like middle of the road for Voyages, I would say. Like, he's fine. He's not the best. He's not the worst. Next up, we do have Polar Claw, who I've never handled before. Have you handled a Polar Claw?
I have one in my wardrobe, funny enough.
Okay, you'll have to be you'll have to carry us then for the conversation here, because I've never had him. I've never had any iteration of the mold. I think it looks okay visually. I like his color scheme a
Yeah.
lot. The way that they've used the white to split up the red and the black is all pretty well done, and he's got an interesting yet kind of scary face mold.
Yeah, there's some fun stuff going on with old Polar Claw. I mean, in robot mode, he's a little bit more brick-like than some of the others, but his hips are a bit more stable than a lot of other ultra class figures.
Is that because they're not ball joints? They're
I think so. Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, they're literally really just pivots because there is beast mode legs as well, effectively. You can get a lot of action out of his arms. It's a bit weird with how his beast mode forelegs both fold over his shoulders.
Why they do that? Is there like a gimmick with it or something?
Yeah, so one of them, the one that you can see in the picture, doesn't have a claw attached to it. That foreleg actually launches away as a drone type minicon companion.
Oh, okay. Kind of like Scorponok's Buzz B-Claw thing. Okay.
Yeah. Whilst the other one, it basically lashes out. It extends another claw from his shoulder.
So it's like a stretchy punch.
Yeah, effectively. Yeah, boing. But a giant claw.
That's stupid.
It's a fun gimmick. I mean, he's got some nice colours going on. Nothing to really. He's not gonna rock anyone's world massively, but he was a fun figure.
I
was quite glad to pick him up.
If he does have like a drone like Scorponok, then his is better integrated because obviously with Scorponox, as we'll mention in a bit, if you want to use that drone, you lose his hand effectively. You basically take 3 of your fingers and your thumbs off your hand, and you've got his B mode. And if you lose that, you snookered. You know, he's lost half of his hand. So if this is just like he shoots out a thing from his shoulder, and it's not that obtrusive, that's better in my eyes.
Well, it's kind of two. On the one hand, because it comes off his shoulder, it doesn't affect the robot mode. But if you lose it, it does affect the beast mode because you're left with a three-legged polar bear.
But with Scorponox, you lose in both modes. With this, you lose in one mode. You know, so
and the actual because it transforms into a little bat, and they actually did. I think the last time I read a Beast Wars bio, I think back when Dreamview did, they actually did make it a distinct character from Polar Claw, which was kind of cool. Just a nice little touch. But he was a fun character. I mean, you got this mutant face as well, which is literally just you turn the head around.
I kind of like the mutant mask. It kind of looks like it kind of just looks like he's put on armor over the top of his own face.
Yeah.
Like it's a knight's helmet. It doesn't look bizarre and weird like some of the other mutant masks.
No. And because it is literally just his head turned 360, it's not any bigger or got any weird dimensions to it. There's nothing odd hanging off. It's literally just his face, which is nice. And I mean, he poses all right. His beast mode is a bit of a brick because of how you've got two gimmicks in his forearms. But those gimmicks can also actually be used in the beast mode, which is quite nice. So you don't lose access to those transforming. And he's a nice, solid, chunky figure at the end of the day.
So you say he's all right. He's not bad. Do you say he's the best of the Megas?
I would probably say so. I'd probably say though that the Megas might be the weakest class of this.
I agree.
Of this year,
100%. I think they're hampered in this kind of weird, like we need them to do more than deluxes.
Yes,
but we can't have them as well. Almost, I don't know, as well thought out as the two leaders. I don't know. I don't know. The next one we have is Scorponok. Who is not? He's got the same problem as Inferno, as in he can be very back heavy because he's got his scorpion tail that just kind of weighs him down, and again he doesn't do a lot of transforming for his mode, which is kind of strange.
He kind of falls on his face effectively.
Yeah, you kind of swing his legs behind him, and you swing the tail between his legs, and you turn his feet into the robot head and You just kind of straighten out his arms, and that's about it. It's strange. He's got the gimmick where you pull on a lever on the back, and the tail kind of goes forward in a stinging motion.
It's an odd one, that, to be in all fairness.
Yeah, but his claws are also way too big. They're ginormous. He's got the missiles that fire from one of his claws. That's nice. That's a fun feature.
Yeah.
But then, as I mentioned, he's got his cyber bee, which as a bee looks quite good. The problem, like I say,
is you lose in
the entire claw.
One hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got this really nasty looking gap down the center of that claw for where the bee kind of splits apart. Because I don't think I've ever seen any ones that holds together desperately well. And I don't know about you. I know it wasn't accurate, but I way more preferred his mutant mask than his robot head. I really like that mutant mask.
I think it helps that mutant mask carries on the black and red color scheme of because I quite like this glossy black and the red's got a bit of a shine. It might admittedly be down to the photography more than anything, but you don't get some of this shine without that being part of material to start with. And there's a little bit of a gloss to, like the red plastic and to the black, which is quite nice. And it really does see in the beast mode more than anything. Because that is a sinister scorpion.
Yeah, it's clearly not a real scorpion, but it looks mean. You don't want to come next to this ever.
Yeah. Whereas the animation model is much more the color of the claws carried over the entire robot mode.
Well, the claws are more like glossy, bluey. I don't know how to describe it. And the show model's kind of a gray, flattish gray.
Yeah, the claws are more of a grey night blue color.
Oh, look at you, Mr. Painter.
With a slight pearlescent effect.
Yeah. Yeah, I can say as well that I like the mutant mask because to me it reminded me more of like World War II gas masks. It has that kind of look to it, which I thought was cool, where the robot head is not great. Also, it's the same idea that the mutant mask is just stuck on the side of his head. So it looks a bit awkward again. It doesn't look great. The Scorponok figure just kind of Voyager figure just sits on this weird, like, it's not great kind of aspect. I really like the Sandstorm repaint, which I have from BotCon. That was a really good repaint, to be fair. If you've seen that, it's very pretty.
Yeah, I have heard good things about this one, and I mean it does some things that the other one could have done with them. I mean, the paint on the face is much cleaner.
Yes.
Which is not uncommon. Paint could be messy on some of those early Beast Wars figures, unfortunately. It's nature of the beast, sadly. But that metallic, silvery tan they've used with bright Tizer orange.
Oh, I was going to say Fanta orange.
Orange, yeah. That's a really nice combination they've gone for there. That does work quite nice. I see why that was one of the repaints they gave a mainline release for the Kingdom mold.
Oh yeah. They took the BotCon thing and went, "Oh, we'll have that. It looks nice." It's like, yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Scorponok kind of on the weird thing. XL Head says, "I need a panda repaint of Polar Claw. Thank you, Robot Chicken." That's right. Yeah, they did use Polar Claw for that for some bizarre reason. I don't know why, but yeah.
I'm genuinely surprised that they haven't done a panda repaint of him any point in the last for 28 years.
We haven't really had a Polar Claw. Like, they didn't do him for Kingdom at all because it's like, he wasn't in the show, so fuck him. No one of the our age range will care, unfortunately, and that's true.
He was on the promo artwork for Kingdom.
Yeah,
and then he got. Because I remember he and I think Gears were on that initial artwork, and they didn't come out for Kingdom. Gears we've seen eventually because they realised G1 give me that moolah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd actually really like to have seen an update to Polar Claw because
it'd be nice.
I mean, they've done pretty much apart from the basics that weren't in the show.
Yeah.
They have now done all the season 1 Beast Wars toy characters effectively.
Yep. It's true.
Apart from Polar Claw. And that's actually... I mean, I get why, because he's probably the least well-known of any of them.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. It's just... okay, it's weird.
Could happen, okay. I suppose. And the last ones are the Ultras, not leaders. They're Ultras. There was Basic, Deluxe, Mega, and then Ultra. Megatron. Good old Megatron. Not the right color. Close enough to the right color. And again, generally close enough to the show model.
He's a big boy.
For some reason, this is also mistransformed in the photo here. They've got the waist turned around the wrong way. Which is why you can see all the screws. You did this wrong, person who took this photo. Bless you. So, a couple of gimmicks. The one that I never liked was his, like, dinosaur tail could stretch out and pinch people. I never liked that. I thought that was a bit silly.
I'm still trying to find a way to saw that off of his Kingdom figure, to be fair.
Oh, yeah.
There's a way, I've read for how to do it. You can get a small saw and you can just about get in and cut that bit off and with a perfectly decent arm. Because it's there. They just didn't give you the option to remove.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't. They should have. Like, it makes sense here because they're trying to sell a gimmick, but there's no reason for the Kingdom one that they couldn't have. And the other gimmick was the dinosaur head. You could, again, fill up with water, and you pulled the head back, and it would squirt water, like it was firing a laser. To be fair, it was better than Cheeto's gut gun. It worked. I never did it because, like, why would you? And it also meant that you could pull out, like, the tongue and the bottom of the throat, which was kind of interesting to do as a child.
Yes, for maximum disturbing.
Well, I had the Jurassic Park toys as a kid, so I had like a Triceratops where you could rip off the side of his stomach as he was being eaten alive. Which is quite fun as well.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he's a herbivore, so he could go get fucked, basically. It's neat.
Yeah.
Fun idea. So, like T-Rex mode, again, for this era, I think is incredibly successful. And there's a reason, again, why they haven't really changed the formula of how this worked for, like, Kingdom. So it works pretty much in the same way. Because it's just good. Kind of wish they'd iterate on it a little bit more, but what can you do? And again, worked mostly like Transformation did in the show from the bits that we saw. So that was neat. A little bit cumbersome because he has big bat wings, but it's not like Rhinox where all of his bits would clatter off each other because you could just like they were on like hinges, so you could just swing them back if you wanted to.
Yeah,
so they were not an issue.
He had some really nice joints going on as well.
Yeah, ratchets in the shoulders, and then just good tight universal joints for the arms. And I'm pretty sure you had ratchets for the hips as well. I'm pretty sure.
I think so, yeah.
And then just kind of a knee swivel, and then just a knee bend as well. So and a waist joint clearly as well. The problem again with the mutant mask is they're stuck off the side of his head. So for some reason he gives the vibe of the Doctor at the end of Reanimator. No, Reanimator 2 is where the Doctor gets the bat wings on the side of his head. Is it? Or is it the first one? No, it's the second one, right?
Or it looks like he's doing a really cut price Devilman cosplay.
That too. And also the mutant mask is just shit. I don't know what it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Is it a dinosaur? I don't know.
If it was just, painted in some way, that might have helped, but it's just black.
It could probably give you a hint of what it's meant to be, yeah. But yeah, the mask is on top, is right next to his black chest and is glossy, so it all just kind of mushes together. It's an interesting shape. I think it's meant to be going for that weird kind of, you don't know what it's meant to be like Cheetos, but that's not a good thing. I'd like to know what it was meant to be, personally.
No. Yeah. It's odd.
The side-skirt missiles were okay as well. They weren't great, but they were fine,
It's a fun gimmick to have featured in there.
He doesn't have a gun, so he has to have something.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say this guy isn't loaded with features. I mean, of a price point, the Primal and Megatron probably look the most like their show counterparts and had the most going on without being too obtrusive, even with the giant grabby claw thing that's stuck to Megatron's arm.
See, I would say most of the Maximals, I think, were on point. I think it's mainly the Predacons, apart from Dinobot. Dinobot was just that was just wrong. I think it was mainly the Predacons that were just off slightly. Like Wasmonator's the closest, but with the wrong color scheme. And then there's Tarantulas, who's almost right, just again with the wrong color scheme. Well, the Maximals generally, apart from, again, Dinobot, were all on point. It's just, yep, that's his color scheme. That's how he looks. Tigatron was the incorrect one, just because of the head sculpt and Dinobot. But Megatron's probably the most accurate. Is that right?
For Decepticons, I'd say that's fair.
Predacon wise, I'd say he's probably the most accurate.
If he was coloured a deeper pink or a deeper purple, then he'd be. But as is, he's probably about as close as season 1 Predacons got, to be honest.
I want to say that's probably true. That's probably right. There might be some people that would disagree, man. Fair enough. I wouldn't fight you hard on it, to be honest. So I'd just be like, I don't know. But Megatron, he's got a really good face sculpt as well. I really like the face sculpt on him. There's character in there. Do you remember Hasbro when he used to sculpt character into your toys? Do you remember? Like this? You can do it again.
You just hear David Cage enunciating, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
And then the last one is Optimus Primal, who is, again, pretty accurate for the most part, and a pretty fun Transformer. Easier than Megatron to deal with, not as shell-formery, but then very simple at the same time. Like, he doesn't do a huge amount, but still feels reasonably satisfying, I think. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it well. I feel like I'm describing it like an idiot, to be honest.
I mean,
pardon.
My best way to describe him is he's a bit of a champ, to be honest. I'd say he's probably the strongest figure of this first wave.
He's got a lot of gimmicks as well, and
he's got a lot of gimmicks.
All of them work very well.
Yeah, they're all really nicely integrated. I mean, he's probably one of the best mutant mask integration in that it literally flips behind his head into his backpack, effectively.
Is it? I guess it's kind of like Polar Claw, but instead of it just being molded to the back of his head, it's just on a separate hinge joint, so like you say, it can fold a little bit and get out of the way a little bit more.
Yeah, you've got the gimmicks in his arms for his blaster and his mace, which are pretty great.
Yeah, the fact that the mace is on the string's kind of nice as well, to be fair. Not big string.
Yep.
But,
Yeah, the back missiles, they can flip over, or they're quite good at simulating his rocket thrusters from the cartoon, which is nice. You've got that fist punch action he can do in both modes.
Oh, yeah. I always forget about that.
Yeah, which when you give him the swords as well, gives him some real get up and go. And the swords, again, he can wield them either single-handed or put two in one hand for a bit of Darth Maul action. There's a lot of fun going on. And then the way he actually transforms, because he is a gorilla, and he literally, really, he just kind of like turns around and folds in on himself. It's easy to say that it's a simple transformation, but it's kind of elegant in its simplicity.
Again, it's very similar to how the show transformed him as well. Like you say, it's very elegant. And I think they make up for the simple transformation by, like you say, like he is a fuck ton of gimmicks. Like there's a lot of gimmicks for this one figure compared to the rest of them, which have like two. This has, let's say, like four, right? 4 gimmicks. Yeah. Both arms, the backpack,
blaster,
and
mace, missiles,
arm thingy.
Yeah.
4. I think. Unless you want to count the mean mask as well, which I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, let's not count the mask. Yeah. But they're all distinct.
Yep.
They all work.
Yep.
None of them are obtrusive because you can see from the main picture that's Prime. The only thing he doesn't have there is his swords because there's not really any storage for those in his robot mode. Oh,
don't you store them in his back, or is that for the? Because I know for the Robot Master version, You could, you know how the guns flip up? You could peg them in the sides there, and I'm not sure if that was just for the Robot Master version or if that was for the original version as well.
I'm not sure now. Now you say it, but to my knowledge, you couldn't store the swords that way. If I'm wrong, please tell me because I'd like to know. But if you look, that robot mode is otherwise, apart from the swords, everything is stored.
Yeah.
That's kind of impressive,
For the
even
amount
for
of bits he
today.
has. Yeah,
and the fact that some of those limbs incorporate spring-loaded gimmicks, missile gimmicks. He's got that punching gimmick going on. Again, even with that punching gimmick, you can pose him really nicely. And he doesn't pose badly in beast mode either, to be fair. You don't get any real head articulation because of how that folds across, but you can still do stuff with him, which is kind of a rarity for, well, the Beast Wars figures in beast modes. But a lot of them really, you couldn't do a massive amount without fear of a limb breaking off. But I mean, this guy was so good. I bought one of the reissues for my nephew, who was I want to say he was 4 or 5 when he got it for Christmas, and he hasn't broken it yet.
Oh, that's good. There's not much to break on him, thankfully.
Even the remake was and still a nicely chunky piece of plastic.
Yeah, the only things I could think he could break off are maybe the bat mask, unless you that's like accidental breakage. I think you need to try to break anything else on it, to be honest.
Everything else, I mean, the shoulder pads, they're actually just on like clips, so they can come off, but they can reattach really easily. Yeah, they don't break off.
No.
So, but otherwise, he's. You'd probably still see these figures after the apocalypse because their plastic is that dense.
Yeah, he's a good boy. It's just kind of surprising it didn't really get that many repaints. We've got like 2 clear versions from Japan, a reissued version, and then the one that I'd like to still get at one point, which is the Universe version, which is just like dark green, dark purple, red forearms, yellow.
Yeah, so some of those Universe 1.0 repaints really are cooking.
You know what the problem is? No one bought them, and this you don't really see them on eBay, which is a pain.
Well, it's not so much no one bought them, it's that no one could buy, because I never saw any of these in the wild, not here in the UK at least. I knew about them, couldn't find any of the damn things.
Yeah, I wonder if it was just releases were just really poor, because I don't remember seeing them either, to be honest, but that doesn't mean a huge amount.
I mean, admittedly, this era of Transformers was a bit difficult at times, but it was
that in-between stage between RID and Armada, wasn't it? It was around that time period, I think.
No, Armada had been and gone by that point, because I remember, Armada, I bought Armada Starscream and a few Minicon sets in my last year of university. That would have been 2003, yeah. So these would have been coming out at the same time as Armada.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at 2003, and it is that weird in betweeny spot, because there's the Beast Wars repaints of Air Razor, which with the black version, it's that like I don't know, just fucking put some toys out. I don't know. We got loads of we just use the molds. Who gives a shit? The weird time. It was a weird time. But that's all of the figures. Generally, I think Beast Wars started out very strong, for its time period.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's actually a lot of releases for
1 year.
New brand. Yeah, especially for what is effectively a brand reset. I mean, there's a nice spread of all 4 classes. There's nothing that really is... There's some which aren't great, but nothing that I'd say is absolutely shit across those releases, which is a rarity. And there's a few in there which are still, I mean, like we said, Optimus Primal, that's still an all-timer today.
Yeah, solid figure.
Yeah.
And next year, 97, continues with standard Beast Wars before we move on to Transmetal. And they have their attempt at combiners, which, we can... be able to talk about at some point. Which they're
They were
interesting. Yes. They're an interesting idea, and I think they're okay, kind of, but with problems. But we could talk about that next time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, these are solid. Axel Hedge says, didn't get to enjoy the OG mold till last year. Hopefully you enjoyed it when you got a hold of him.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. I still think these are fun. I would highly recommend not buying the reissues if you can help it. Just buy the original versions. Just because I'm so jaded by getting that rat trap and feeling the quality difference, and knowing that at least the originals are better.
At least a lot of reissues are dirt cheap if you do find them anywhere at the moment. So
that's true, because they didn't sell.
Yeah.
So weird that they put those out in stores. If you'd asked me if I was the marketing guy, I would have said make those Hasbro Pulse exclusives, because the people that want them would then buy them. You know?
And put some of the stuff people actually want on shelves.
Yeah, yeah.
Give us modern mainline stock, please. Not keep it all exclusives.
Yeah, that would be a nice idea. Big D, where can people find you on the internet if you want them to find you? I suppose
I am David on all the socials. Look for the picture of Cup. I will get it replaced one of these days with something much more emblematic, shall we say, of myself. Much more VTuber-ish, potentially, just to blend in a bit better with our decaying overlord right here. I'm one of the resident mods on the Fluff and Hammer Discord, where I also handle our monthly watch along movie night, which in a couple of weeks' time will be the 2010s RoboCop and Predator. So
2010s.
Yeah, the RoboCop reboot.
Oh, the one with Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes.
Oh.
You'll come and watch it.
Oh, I won't.
You'll hate watching with the rest of us.
I won't. I've got better things to do than watch that movie. I'd rather watch RoboCop 3.
But if you come and sit through that one, would you get to watch Predator?
I just want Predator.
Isn't that price worth paying?
No, because I'd wait until Predator starts and I'd just come and watch Predator instead.
Well, that works as well. Why are you moaning?
Because I've seen that RoboCop movie. Oh no.
So have I.
Oh,
but it was on the list, so I'm duty bound to show it if it rolls up on the dice.
That's true. Yeah, bless you.
Fine. I'm building a second list, which is all Hong Kong action movies.
Oh, you're also recording shows for the Fluff and Hammer as well, podcast as well, right?
Oh, yes. I've been trying to help out and just do odd stuff. Myself and Mr. White, we had our first...
Love a spat?
Well, we did watch Ultramarines, which I'm sure has led to a few domestics in its life.
I listened to that and I was like, you don't talk about the movie much because there's nothing positives to say about it. Yeah, you had a good chat though. Yeah. I liked the conversation, but there was just nothing positive to say about Ultramarine.
So yeah, we whacked on Ultramarines and talked over it for 2 and a bit hours, which, that was different.
It was way more entertaining than the movie. I'd recommend listening to the show. Don't watch the movie, but listen to the show. It was fun.
More entertaining than Ultramarines.
Yeah. There you go. There's your tagline. There you go.
But we're going to see if we can do more of those if we can. If people have any ideas for films they want to see covered or whatnot, let us know.
Also, Mr. White lied on that show. I've never recommended him watch anything other than Nexus Pariah. He listed off all of the shows, and I was like, no. I was like, you're lying. I said Nexus Pariah. That's it. Skip the rest of them.
Well, you should have taken that up with him when we did our chat about the Space Marine 2 trailer.
Yeah, I know. It only just popped up into my brain right now.
Yeah, which is something else we did on Friday night. Friday?
Yes,
when
Friday.
Did we do that?
Yes, it was Friday.
Yeah, yes. So myself, Mr. White, and Mr. Andy here, we sat down and...
Oh, no, it was Saturday. It was yesterday.
Was it? Oh, yeah, yes, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I had my Elden Ring stream last night.
You had a Fluff on Friday, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Time is a weird construct.
Yeah.
But yeah, we sat down, stuck that Space Marine 2 gameplay trailer on loop and just had a natter about that for a bit, which, again, great fun.
Yeah.
something I'm quite keen to do again if we get a chance. So
I'm sure you will. You just need to arrange stuff with Mr. White. I'm sure you'll get more out there in the future.
Yeah, but that one should be coming. I think Gruff said that he'll be putting that out next week. And then I had a chat this afternoon with Swanee. We had it was supposed to be an hour. We went 3 hours.
That's a little overtime.
A little bit. We didn't really notice until we both looked at the clock and went, oh. But that was a fantastic chat. We had a talk about Black Library stuff in general and 40k setting, which was lovely. And I think that'll be in a couple of weeks' time. That'll go out on the Fluff and Hammer. So, it's been fun actually creating content, as they say.
Yeah, can be quite rewarding.
I feel good for having done it. So,
but that'll be us done for the show for today. If you want to find me, I'm on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube as Decade Andy. On the Moonbase 2 podcast, Transformers show on YouTube, and then you just type in Moonbase 2 Transformers podcast into Google, you'll find us, and also the ccbunker.weebly.com. If you want to get the show that way too, if you want to see the show live or comment like the people today, thank you, by the way, chat. Thank you for coming on by as always. It's 8 o'clock in the evening UK time on a Sunday. I was going to say Saturday, but that would be wrong. Sunday, fun day. That's the day. Thank you again, Big D. And until next week, there might be news. If there's not news of any significance, we'll obviously continue with Toy Talk. If there is news, well, we'll talk about the news. So until then, thanks everybody for coming on by. We'll see you next time. Yeah.